We're raring to go. So excited to be here as always, especially when I've got Kelly here. And everybody knows Kelly from The Awesome Journey. And if you don't, you should. It's with Christy Howard, who's just a wonderful supporter of so many people on LinkedIn and a good person. And also, Kelly's, whole focus is on providing value and creating bigger, better, stronger relationships among like-minded people. And hopefully this show goes a little bit of ways. I want to put a plug in for Harvey, who follows this show tomorrow, the franchise show, and put a plug in for Carl Dakin, who does the it's Instant Capital show. I have to remember. And then, that makes for quite a strong Tuesday. But, anyways, we're here today. We've been focusing and pivoting towards really getting to work and getting people moving. Now that everybody, after about 2 years, have learned to know, like, and trust each other and really share what we're learning every day. Me and Kelly were just talking prior to the show how busy it's getting because a lot of seeds that were planted are starting to sprout and we're starting to get the benefits. So you don't know what the cycle is. You don't know what the time frame when you start something and you're trying to grow it. And then all of a sudden it grows and you're still doing what you're doing plus this, which is just wonderful because it gives you choices. So anyways, always looking for chat to direct us. Happy if you're here. And let us know who you are, where you're from, and we'll recognize you and give you some exposure. So, Kelly, why don't you bring us up to date? It's only been, 4 days? Seems like a lifetime.
I know. Well, time, like you said, time is moving crazy fast. I honestly yesterday was going, holy moly, like it's March. What happened to February? And it was a leap year, so we even had an extra day in there. And I feel like I need lots of extra days, which I guess is a good problem to have. There's so much happening that sometimes it's hard to keep up with. But I do think it's interesting what we were talking about before we came on, and curious to what the audience thinks. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, we always want your input because that's what we're here for. Um, but we were talking about how people consume content and wanting to know, like, obviously, reading in feeds and interacting with them. We talk about that in best practices a lot. That you should interact and comment and follow folks that you're interested in or that relate to your topics, and you can gain so much insight by what they're doing to create maybe something that you want to do in your own way. But also, how do you like to consume lives? Do you like them on audio or video or a combo of both? Because I can say there are some lives that I will listen to while I'm doing something else. So in essence, I'm making it an audio because I'm not watching it, and not interacting with it. Because sometimes the content is something that it's just I'm so intrigued by the story, that I don't really want to interact in a way because I'm consuming. Um, so I just think it's an interesting thought of how people like to consume, and how do you approach it? Do you like a combination of both? Um, because the only thing I don't like about audios is, like, when you have to leave early, or if you just drop in to give a little bit of support, you can't leave a comment. That's the only kind of bummer, is you're in and then you're out, and the host or whomever is maybe a guest that you've gone in for, doesn't know unless you take the time to send them a personal message to be like, "Hey, I just wanted you to know I just dropped in to give a little support, but didn't have time." So that's the only thing that I personally don't like about the audio. And I say that because I love the lives because you get to see people, which I think makes a huge difference. Um, but like I said too, sometimes I just listen. So I like an audio. So curious to what people think about that. Um, and yeah, for a Monday's a new week, new opportunity, and new way to look at goals. And Leslie was talking about that on her audio this morning about goals. It's March. How many goals did we set for ourselves in this first quarter? And instead of going, man, I'm off track and feeling down, is just looking at it as a time to refresh. Or, hey, I need to take a step back and try something a little bit different. Um, which kind of leads right into, hey, maybe now's the time for you to add a live stream to your strategy because you have nothing to lose, right? So those are my thoughts to start this Monday.
I mean, you did great, Kelly, because I wasn't thinking what I'm thinking now until you shared what you were thinking. And what I'm thinking is it's really about the person and how you want to be seen and or heard. And some
Yeah.
people, and that might be a good answer for people a little intimidated by the camera, maybe a little self-conscious of what people may think, even though I will assure you it's all not what you think it is based on who you go with, right? Because there are shows that will make you feel bad. And there's people who aren't like me and Kelly and Harvey and Carl. They're more transactional, and we're looking to build strong, wonderful relationships. But I think that's really the key is it gives you options. Naturally I'm biased because I've done 700 live streams and like 3 audios, and I do like seeing people. I do, when I'm having a conversation, I'd rather be facing somebody than have someone behind a wall talking between us, and I think just showing up. But again, that's me. People who want to do audio events, and actually what I'll do is I'll ask everybody, why don't you vote? Now, that vote will be biased because you're at a live stream video to begin with. So it kind of tells you where you chose to be now. But better yet, I'll do a poll tomorrow or a couple days and let the population vote on it. And I think that's a good way for you to learn. Not sure about your audience and what they're thinking, do a poll. LinkedIn lets you do that for that purpose. So buy a clue. The other thing about live streaming is there's no reason you shouldn't have your own. And, and the reason for that is you're already a member of LinkedIn. So you pass that test. You've already experienced over many months and sometimes years live streaming as an audience. But before, what me and Kelly and Harvey and Carl are putting together is a fast track, get your own live show. This is not meant to be sales or advertising, but it does mean to open an opportunity for people who say, hey, I'd like to try my own show. And the good thing about it's like in a driver's license, you could do it once a month, once a year, once a day, but you have the ability. And especially people who are waiting in line to get invited to a show or aren't seen by a lot of people, make yourself seen, make yourself heard. And I think that's why you're on LinkedIn, is to build quality relationships, but why not do it in the fastest, most direct manner, which is showing up and then be on other people's shows and collaborate. And we put that together with our collaboration group that's been amazing the last 2 months. And you join a community, you join best practices. And not only that, I'm always there for Carl. I'm always there for Kelly and Christy. I'm always there for Harvey. And you'll always have people, 7, 8, 9 strong people, just like we are here, but why not come over to our side, and allow us to come over to your side, because we learn from everybody's successes. And this is just great. And, when I was thinking about a word of the day, and I'm kind of waffling between that because sometimes it helps, is, CTA, call to action.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody should know what they're ringing people up for, right? If you said, hey, Tony's going to say, what are you calling for? Well, if you're not going to a baseball game or somewhere or something, they'll say, okay, so what are we talking about? And I think by having your own voice, it creates call to actions that you can refine to specific audiences out of 1 billion people. And then really out of default for a lot of people not doing anything like this, they're still fighting the mob in the posting and the commenting
And
and
this
pretty pictures. So what gets you excited gets other people excited, and puppy pictures are so cute, but they're never going to lead to anything serious, in my opinion. Kelly, well, let's get the audience in because Dennis was first today. You know, we'll get you a dozen and a half donuts next time we see you for being first. March did march in, and we are here to hear you too. Thank you, Dennis. And you know, the thing too, just like Kelly said, I don't know where the winter it went. And next week we're picking up the hour here. And all of a sudden we're going to get our daylight back. We're already starting to see 60s and 70s out here. And maybe that's a good thing because the last 3 months were a lot of work. Were a lot of shows. Were a lot of activities. So, you know, when you can pass that through and get to a higher ground and then position yourself better. And I think we want to be the model and the example. We want to go first and come back and say, here's what we're learning. Carl, the more I get to know Carl, the more I get to like Carl. Just a great guy in every way. Good morning. Happy Monday, Kelly and Don. And don't forget Carl's show tomorrow. Also, Carl has a very exciting newsletter that comes out every day. And I can't believe how long it is and how much good quality content there is, because you know I'm still kind of a believer in repurposing, putting the best of what you have, and Carl really puts out a lot of great quality content that you won't find anywhere else. So thank you, Carl. Carrie's here. I can tell you a volcano joke. I hope you erupt with laughter. I know you will lava a good volcano pun. Well, good for you. Our buddies are here, and here's Omar. Good morning. I'm in Lake Havasu today. I might record Clue for my new quiz show. You know, I'm just so impressed with Omar because he comes up with all of these different approaches to bringing a game show in, which is unique. You know, and I think that's just like Harvey has his hat. You know, after a while, you get a persona, and no one remembers your name. They remember your show. Well, that's the Zoom party guy, right? Or that's the Think and Grow Rich lady, if we're talking about Leslie. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being associated with something that people already like to begin with. So good for you, Omar. Great to see you. Okay, we covered that. And I think we're kind of caught up. Carrie, last thing, says he's in the 70s and 80s already. Well, great. Live in Texas. And I think that's the nice thing about the Southwest, because I used to live in the Midwest and it's like night and day. But I'll say one thing about Midwest: when spring is sprung, everybody can come out of hibernation, and it's really a big celebration. So, Kelly, we cover so much ground. I think we're getting more direct and to the point because we want to continue to build on time efficiency and value and bring people together.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there was several great points that you brought up, and one that I definitely wanted to expound upon is the fact of, like, with your approach of repurposing content that works for your strategy perfectly. Whereas Carl's, I think it's great that he puts out new content on the regular for capital markets and financial services. Doesn't mean that it can't be repurposed. I think the point or the takeaway for everyone is to understand that one size doesn't fit all. Like, there is a strategy that works for your goals, and they're not all the same. But don't be intimidated by that. And that is what, why LinkedIn is such another great resource of working with people who have already done those things and that can help you with those things or figure them out. Because I do think a lot of people, or at least, folks that I've been talking to, they struggle with just the basics about, gosh, I'm really not sure of what my messaging is supposed to be, what the cadence should be on my posts. When should I introduce a newsletter? Because I don't know if I have the time to actually make it happen. There's so many different variables in each individual's goals that, even though, you can say generally, my goal is I want to increase my revenue. Like, that seems like a pretty basic, common goal for folks. But your goal to getting there, or your path tactically to getting to that goal, is vastly different than someone else, even in the same industry, because it depends on so many, again, different variables. The resources you have, the time you have, the team. Are you working with people who you can, barter with? Like that's a big thing I think that people don't take enough, and I don't want to say advantage of because I feel that has like a negative connotation, but reaching out to people and being like, hey, and when you're collaborating, hey, you know what? I can't pay you to do this, but would you be willing to work with me in this way? Um, and I can help you in this way. Giving and taking to share. Again, so many variables, but I just wanted to be sure to point out that people don't think I have to do my newsletter exactly like the way someone else does it. Your strategy may be completely different. And I think the call to action item is huge because I think a lot of people forget that. What is the call to action? What are people supposed to do? What do you want your end user to do? And sometimes the other part that people forget is what is your value add that you're providing first? Because people want that. This is, and I did interject when Don was talking the first round. Anybody who's watched us for a while or follows me on LinkedIn knows one of the things that is my biggest pet peeves that every single person needs to stop doing is the dreaded pitch slap in the inbox, using those horrible automated salesy emails that solve all the problems that you think I have on the first connection or in the in mail. And it's like, how do you even know I have those problems? You haven't asked me any of these questions about my business um, or about what my goals are. So, stopping that and getting more into a personal connection relationship, that's where things happen. They're not going to happen in automation to get an immediate lead or true business. You're shutting people out completely when you're doing that. You may gain a couple of folks to get into your lead, funnel channel, however you want to say it, but you're closing the door of opportunity to a lot more people than you think when you do that, because it's very off-putting. People don't like it. And the best way to always describe it, or I find, is when you're sitting face to face with someone and they come like jetting in at you, what is your first reaction? It's to pull away. Well, when you pitch slap someone, that's exactly what you're doing, is they are pulling away from any opportunity, anything that you could have done with them. You've ruined the relationship. It's not scaring them into going, "Ooh, that was exciting. I want to meet with this person."
Mhm.
um, so again, it just goes back to the whole thing of who are you talking to? What is your strategy? And if you don't know, that's even better. Like reach out to your contacts. That's what it's here for. I do that all the time, as far as even when it comes to work. If you need more work, reaching out to people that you can trust and being like, "Hey, I'm really looking for some new clients and work. Do you have any suggestions, or what are you doing? Or hey, are you looking to do something in a fractional level where we could do some work together?" There's just so many things that you find out and discover when you have real conversation and real relationship with people, um, which I do think comes from doing live stream. I have made so many amazing connections just from doing this and had true friendships and relationships out of it. And I do think maybe this is another thing to ask the audience too is I like the idea of a topic, not necessarily a word of the day, because I think sometimes maybe people can feel like, oh, they're going to talk about live stream again today. I already heard that one. Where maybe it is a focus on what it do to a call to action or, certain best practices. I don't know, but I'd be interested to know what the audience has to say.
Yeah, me too. And you make so many great points. And when I think about people doing things the wrong way, it's usually when lazy marries ignorant, you know, and without someone really being active in a working way and without someone getting to know how to do it. And dumb
Mhm.
people would like to do smart things if they knew what they were, but they come in ignorant and they keep just being bad citizens to a huge community, hoping they'll get some trickle off of it. And I think that's the benefit of people who learn how to do this right, who learn how
Mhm.
to do it with the best intention, with the greatest desire to offer the most value, improve oneself, and that's why actually everything I've ever done has been month to month, because I don't want to trap anybody in something that doesn't work. And I don't want to be involved with anybody after a month if they're not a good citizen or they don't bring value. And, when you're talking about trading, a lot of people put things in financial terms, but your
Mhm.
biggest resource and asset is your time. And
Yeah.
who do you want to trade your time with? Who are you posting to? Who are they changing to? Or is it the same? Go back 6 months, see the same type of post, same type of response, same type of people. There's no growth. Me and Kelly and the rest of our group have opened the universe of LinkedIn to us. And also, what I've learned is when you're starting out, you need to be specific about who you are and what you are, because no one knows that yet. So, like Beverly is Women's Empowerment Over 50, right? But here's what happens. After a while, people get to know Leslie or Beverly or Kelly, and it doesn't matter what they're talking about, right? They just want to hear them, see them, because they made them an informal part of their community. But who wants to take the next step to see if you can formalize it? How you can work together around the table, how you can put plans together. There is leverage to community and to synchronization, doing things by plan instead of accident. Everything you write down has more value. Everything you commit to what you write down has even greater value. And, one has to trust themselves to see what it is, when it is, and how it is. Not before it
Mhm.
is, not, I won't do this because of this. If you're just giving your reasons not to do something, then you got to accept and be authentic and say, I'm just a spectator for a while. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you can't create, I'm a player, but I don't play. When I get a chance to go in, I decide I'm not ready. With that, I was going to mention this, Carl, because me and Carl have had some great conversations. I'm using my newsletter to create original content that will be repurposed into books, educational programs, and consulting, all monetization activities. I learned so much from Carl. Based on that, me and Kelly have been talking for quite a while about repurposing the video we do here into playlist and shorts. I actually saw something that said developed by Opus on the video. So it was like a 15-second video, and it showed that they use that software in order to do it. So a lot of big things happening, a lot of changes taking place. LinkedIn is getting bigger, better, faster in so many ways. There's 5 times more interactions I heard this in the last year than the year before because of all this new capabilities, where people got creator mode. Now I think if it's not already happening, everybody has creator mode automatically. And that's just going to expand the universe of people say, well, I'm authorized. How do I get there? Doing this is a lot easier than getting to do this. Because if you don't know Restream, if you don't know how to build an audience, if you don't know how to support an audience, if you don't know how to format your show, there's so much to it, and there's too much to it. Dennis says, agree, teamwork works. Coming back to Christine, was just great. I just,
Hey.
Christine just brings so much to whatever she does and whoever she's with. So true, Kelly. Someone just pitch me bookkeeping service while knowing what I need. Also, I've had PPL pitch me services I provide to others. You got to have blinders sometimes, and you got to have tunnel vision because it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to feel, well, what would it hurt if I engage this person or I did this? And then after it's over, like, why did I let myself into that? And that's another thing is when you're with a quality community, you have protection. You don't have to keep going outside. You already have enough on the inside. Now, who do you want to work with? How do you want to work with them? But more importantly, what value do you bring to them? Because everybody's
Mhm.
here looking to do better. and they're willing to do pretty much anything within, boundaries to get there. But it's also nice when someone says, I tried something new and it worked. And, on our every other Thursday meetings, I mean, I learned so much from what Carl's doing. And Con just started his fourth Friday, will be this Friday. He launched his
Yes.
book that I think is just fabulous. Con's a tremendous gentleman who brings
Yes.
a lot of value. And, the thing is you can put a brick in a really solid wall that's already there. Dennis comes back with Agree Teamwork Works. And here's our quality colleague, Harvey Tuck. Hello, my
Yay.
friend. Just finished a meeting. Want to join and say hello. Like I say, Harvey's show, the franchise show, follows this show, so you don't even have to move when you get the shows coming at you. And Harvey's just been great with designing an unbelievable program of inviting people to shows. Continue to streamline. Now he's emailing people, which makes sense because now you can save invitations. It's that incremental learning, incremental doing every week. And collectively, it makes a big difference because you win by default. You win by the people who aren't playing. You win by the people who aren't playing right. And you're winning by the people who just want to be a one-trick pony, are afraid they're going to give all their beautiful secrets away and keep them all to themselves. And, that's just not a way to build. Dennis says, Con is a pro. Well, thank you. Anything Dennis says is pure generosity. And again, just surrounding ourselves with each other. And all these people here are, have valuable, important things to do. It's just not a lot of people waiting for something to happen. And for people to take time out, share their presence, share their comments, reaching out to help each other. I mean, that should tell you something. So Kelly, we really have developed something that's very important and relevant.
Yeah, I totally think so. And I think, to expound upon what you were saying too, is, we can tend to think, because some of our regular vernacular from doing this for so long and continuing to evolve, because I mean, we're as good as we are at this point, and we'll be even better, next month, and are better than we were last month. But I think when we say things like Restream and Opus, that people are like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Or maybe have an idea. But when we start talking about other third-party platforms, that people are kind of like, see, that just sounds scary. I don't even know where to go with that. So True Basic for folks, because you can go LinkedIn Live just on LinkedIn. You can do it. But it only goes live to your folks on LinkedIn, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. You can get a third-party tool like Restream or StreamYard, which a lot of people have different preferences on the different platforms, and there are others. That allows you to live stream on multiple platforms at the same time. So that's the benefit. And neither one to start are very expensive. And when I say that, I do want to say they're both under like $30 if you want to get the like first level of paid a month, which is not expensive, is a initial investment in something to see if it's going to work for you for a couple of months. And then Opus, again, so those of you that don't know, Opus is a platform where you can take your videos after you've done them. So you do your live streams, and you can, on your third-party platform, you can download them, and you would upload them to Opus, and Opus will excerpt 10 excerpts from it. I will say, because I've used it, it does a decent job, and it speeds up a process for sure. It doesn't always pull out the excerpts that I want. After I've watched something, I'll be like, oh, I wonder why I didn't pull that. Not saying that it's not a good thing, because again, it speeds up time and it pulls out some good stuff, and it gives you all the transcript of content. And I actually really do like the format of their captions of what it does. So those two tools, if you were kind of going, what the heck is that and why do I need it? You don't need it. They're just options depending on where you're going. And to really go back to the whole beginning of this, everybody's need and desire is different depending on what their goals are. And then that's why you have conversation with it. Because I do think sometimes people can sit and listen to an audio room or other live streams that talk um, about doing live streams, and it sounds overwhelming because all of these things are being dropped in of these third party tools. And it's like, that just sounds like a massive undertaking. It doesn't have to be to start with, it can just start at baby steps.
Hmm.
Don't have to take on everything at once, because that would be too much. And I would recommend, depending on your resources, of course, when you when you have very minimal resources, which most of us do, who are maybe trying something new or getting into entrepreneurship, while we're trying to fulfill the gap of employment or creating, a space for us because we're having difficulty either in our current position or difficulty getting hired. It doesn't have to be an overwhelming thing. It just is one of those things. You need to talk to people who know and who have done it to help you build that path. Granted, you can go watch YouTubes all day long, and I'm all for that on a lot of things. But I'm not if I can have someone else give me shortcuts to how to get to somewhere faster, sign me up, because I'll use the an analogy that someone used to use a lot that I can't say isn't a perfect analogy for this is I don't need to know how the watch works. I just need to know what time it is.
Hmm.
And people to get you faster to go live is so much easier than you think, but it will speed up the process. Yes, you probably could do it yourself without having to worry about maybe hiring someone or dealing with a consultant. But what is your time worth? And I think that's what we forget sometimes. I do. I can spend time doing things being like, oh, it's just cheaper if I do it. But then when you really break down how much time you've been spending on something, your time is still money. It doesn't mean because I saved myself 18 hours because I did it myself. No, you didn't, because you weren't focused on doing something else that could have actually been bringing you some income and value. Um, so those are my thoughts this time
No,
around.
I mean, it's just wonderful because I know all your thoughts are based on your experiences and your ability to work with and work through things, and everybody's like everybody when it gets down to it. I mean, I've
Yeah.
done 700 episodes and I'm still not 100% about Restream, right? Because I don't know what glitches are going to come by, but you know what? You do the best you can with what you have, and then you just try to do a little bit better next time. And
Yep.
if you give yourself some grace and forgave yourself for things that are just natural, when we're talking about Opus and we're talking about the script, and we can go on with more and more of these words, we have yet to do it because we're not prepared
Mm-mm.
to know it well enough. But more importantly, it's a lot of work and,
Yeah.
and
Resource.
it's a lot of time. I mean, I've got 700 hours on YouTube. I could probably get 10 books, 5,000 videos. I mean, whatever I wanted out of it. But then that's a whole production. That's a whole job. That's a whole investment. And what we can't forget about is not just your time, it's your future. Where could
Hmm.
you be a year or two from now? It's not like you're on the slow road and eventually you'll just get there. You may stay there when everybody else is going all kinds of places. And the other thing is quality of life. What are you willing to do to have the quality of life you deserve and you feel, that you should have? And the only thing stopping you between that and that is your ability to make change, your ability to be teachable, and your
Hmm.
ability to be honest with yourself,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest thing
And
go ahead.
adding to that a little bit to just for you to expand on that is like things don't need to be perfect. Like be okay to jump in. Like waiting for perfection. And I will use a client that I know as a perfect example. 18 months they have been waiting to launch a product that was literally 80% ready to go 18 months ago. But they're waiting for everything to be perfect. And they continue to argue back and forth because they want to make changes. And when they want to do lives, but they're arguing about how they want design to be, how they want this to be. And it's like, y'all, you have missed so many opportunities by doing this behind the scenes. Launch it. I mean, every single one of us, Don didn't know what the heck he was doing when he first went live. Christy and I certainly didn't know what the heck we were doing when we first went live. Harvey, same. But each person had a little bit more resource or help behind them to get a little bit of experience, because Don had been doing it months before, and I'd been doing it for a couple of months with Don before I launched the Awesome Journey, and Harvey was here a couple months before he launched the franchise show. But there was still obstacles, because nothing's perfect. And you did touch on, every platform has its quirks, and you can't really teach somebody those quirks until they happen. And even then you don't know, because there have been times things happen and we're like, was that a LinkedIn thing or was that a Restring thing? And even when we do research on it, or, we don't really find the answer. But things are never going to be perfect. And about being okay with also learning along your journey. If you're not sure what I'm going to say, what questions am I going to ask my guests, or what am I going to talk about? Those are the things that I think keep people from going, which ultimately is fear, right? It's just being a fear of failure, which failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. And you just got to try. And remember the fact of when we see people, and maybe I'm making myself feel better because I do this all the time, is it humanizes us when we see people on screen who aren't perfect. I lose thought mid-sentence pretty often, but it happens. And I think that makes it to people to be like, it's real. And people like that. They don't like things being over scripted, overproduced. Whatever your thing, widget, service, what have you is, people aren't buying that. They're buying you. So let them see you. Okay, so that was my interjection. Sorry, it was a little long.
I think it really all comes together, because when you look at it, when you really are focused on the other person, what can you do to make their time here better? How do you put them in a position where they want to be? You don't think about yourself as much when it's all about you. And here's the other thing. What is perfect in anybody's life?
Doesn't
Right?
exist.
Does anybody have perfect health? Does everybody have perfect? I mean, nothing's perfect. So why do you go into something you know nothing of and say it should be perfect before I get into it? And I think the key is people set the bar too high. Some people just say, hey, I'm just going to have some fun with it. When people go golfing who never golfed, I'm just going to walk and hit the ball and I'm going to enjoy the company. And other people are breaking their clubs and throwing them in the water when they miss a shot. And that's what people want to see. If they want to see anything, is you, the real you, being you. Now, I'm not saying people should dumb down and make like they're too, it's like whatever you are. And if you're proud of it, then show it. Then
you should be proud of it, right? I mean, it's you.
If you're not, then this is an opportunity to change it. Yeah. And to find people who can say, and I think we always talked about that from the beginning. If you can't do it, could we? If you are waiting for that extra 20% to show up that doesn't seem to be on time, maybe we got an extra 20 hanging around that we could lend you to get you on the road, right? And I think that's really the key. You got to understand and appreciate, where do you want to go? What's your time frame? And then how do you plan on getting there? And you can make up your own plan and then see where it comes up short. And at that point, plug in with us. We're not going to build a reputation of hurting people. If we can't make someone successful, I guarantee you it'll be because someone didn't try or want to learn as much as they could to be successful. And then that's responsibility and accountability on the person. We can't take two steps for anybody, but we can meet people in the middle and take one step at a time together. And then at a certain point, are you able to trust people? Maybe people have been so taken advantage of that everybody will never have their trust again. And that's a shame because you're letting bad people affect your ability to relate to good people. And again, that's on the person. And we
Yeah,
don't,
because I think that goes back to the whole thing, right? Of like the biggest reason that we fail, and again, it's not a bad word, but it just has such negative connotation, is because people fail to implement. Implementation is where businesses flop. It's not about maybe not knowing or having a path, and we talk about that a lot. And Carl is a great example. He was in the collaboration group. We would talk about something one week. Well, he had it implemented like 2 days later, um, and then was doing it. So you have to be a doer. It's not going to happen for you, and people helping you create your path aren't doing it for you. They're just guiding you to your goals, and helping hold you accountable. Because I think that's another big part of the issue, right? Is we have no one to hold us accountable to our own goals. Um, and so there is something to be said about that. That's where I think collaboration groups, coaching, mentors, however you want to do it, are so beneficial for each person or someone that is in a stuck place, don't know what to do. Get connected with someone who can help you and hold you accountable because we need that. We don't like to show up when we haven't met something, which can also make people pull away to be like, oh, now I'm embarrassed. I don't want to show up because I didn't do what others are going to do. Who cares? The only person you're in competition with is you. Don't worry about how quick someone else got there compared to you, which is one of the, I will say, negative things about social media is it's a huge place for us to self-compare on the regular. And don't, just because Carl got there super fast and started his newsletter, you don't have to do that. You just need to do it in your time and make it happen. And again, trust the journey and trust the path that has been created for you. So again, just another way to show how mentors, doing collaboration groups and such are so important to help you achieve your goals, to have accountability for yourself.
I think you make so many quality points. And when we talk about Carl, on the other side is Khan.
Mm,
And Khan joined our group 3 months ago, has come to every collaboration meeting during writing a book, publishing a book, and promoting a book, but never didn't feel was the right time to do even a guest appearance on the show.
mhm,
And then we had a conversation outside of LinkedIn. And I said, so what is your number one priority? He says, well, the book. And I need to
mhm.
focus on the book. And I said, well, the time spent being on your own show, and let's do 4 weeks in a row, will benefit the book.
Yeah.
And he agreed. And then, pairing him up with Todd, and Todd's coming back this week with him on Friday. And then pairing him, it was me and Con last time. And I believe the time before we had Ford, who was just excellent. And he wants to get more involved. And, when you get people who are getting 25,000 a speech, have written 7 books, people like Todd, who created 44 courses, who want to do more shows, it's not because they have their own shows. They're guests on other people's shows. But you know what I'm hearing? They like getting challenged in the moment. They like someone saying, hey, Ford, what do you think? And they didn't have time to plan or anything, and they can respond. And they don't know what they're going to be thinking or saying. But then what happens is a conversation with Con and let's say Todd becomes a conversation and a relationship with Todd and individuals like Con. So, I even changed on my profile Master Connector. I put in there because eventually that's where you get benefit from is the matchmaking, the pairing, the referral.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's not like you should buy their book. It's like you should get to know this person and
Mhm.
let me put a show together where you two can be together without having to decide whatever happens next. And when you trust yourself to take it one step at a time, and if it's not us, who is it? If it's not now, when is it? your why has to dictate your actions. And people usually get going when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, when they feel nothing could be worse than this, or anything is better than sitting here waiting for nothing. And time doesn't benefit anybody, and money and time are closely related. Unless you're independently wealthy, when you run out of money, you run out of time, right? And why would you put yourself in that position where there's technology that wasn't there a year ago, like live streaming access? There's people a year ago, we didn't know what we were doing. But I can tell you one thing, what we're doing, I haven't seen anybody do. And it's not just a pat on our backs. It's a credit to the hard work, the conversations we've had, the learning we've had to do, the people we've met. I can tell you shows in the beginning is like, hey, I was just glad to have somebody on the show with me. And then like, well, they got to bring value, and they have to answer the question of why. Why do you want to be here? What do you want to do here? And maybe we can settle that before you get here, or we can build you a vision of what could be. Because the other thing is everything we're doing is giving people like driver's licenses, the ability to get on a live stream, to really share who you are and what you're doing. But let's get back to comments. Dennis says a lot of work can work to help your quality of life and get a rhyme in time and make more than a dime. And you're right. There's nothing wrong with making a lot of money and creating a lot of value and helping a lot of people at the same time, because that's what people want to model. They don't want someone who achieved everything and still has nothing. They want to be able to say, hey, if I do it, can I win? And when I win, what do I get for winning? And that's a natural question, and it should have a natural answer. Comes back, Dennis says, agree, we need to do more than just putt around. You're only here for an instant. Why not challenge yourself? Why not wear yourself out once in a while? Too many couch potatoes who are waiting for the door to someone to knock on the door. Harvey Tuck says, as I sit and listen to my two friends speak, it reminds me of when I first listened here as an audience member. I always did and still do enjoy listening to your advice. You both offer so much value, and I think about now two friends and how far we've come, and it reinforces how powerful live streaming is for connecting. You know why, Harvey? Because we got to know the true you got to know the true us, and on the show, off the show, we're still the same people. We've always been thinking, how can we do better? Not anything else. And, that makes a difference, because journeys are tough, and they're tough in the early stages when you don't know as much, when you don't have a lot of experience, when you're influenceable. But when you get a group together, and just adding somebody like Carl, Con, Dave, the people are the blend, not just what did you do. I mean, Dave has a heart of gold, and he's trying so hard to do so good. And sometimes actually you need people to slow you down, to tell you you're just fine. You don't worry about it. You're doing great, and that encouragement, and especially that trust in that encouragement, will say, thank you. I'm glad I don't have to worry about it anymore. You ever have an issue and you don't know what it is until someone looks at it and says, no, nothing here. And you would have believed anything and then felt like that. And I think that's the key. Confidence can go a long way. Having a sense of humor goes a tremendously long way. People are always wondering when you drop something on your foot, how you're going to respond to it, And usually humor helps, minimalize it helps. And you know what? Everybody says it could have happened to me just like it happened to them. I agree. Master connector is so much better than master debater. Well, the more you, and that's another asset. We talk about repurposing content. In essence, we can repurpose people. We can allow them to get access to.
That just doesn't sound as nice.
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably repurposing should be replaced with something else. But you see, that's the beauty of just saying what you think.
That's exactly
that if
right.
you thought, you probably wouldn't have talked. So I think when they love the imperfections because
Oh,
now they don't feel like there's that much distance. And some people will
right.
say, and I hope they do. Well, I'm so much smarter than those two. I'm so much better. Well, come on,
Yeah.
let's see what you got. Because I'll
I
tell
have
you
no
what,
problem with that.
anybody that can outdistance us, I will gladly follow and learn and support. I mean, I would rather run with the big dogs who are running fast than just hanging out, what are you doing kind of people. So, Kelly, I mean, it sounds like the audience makes us, and then we help make the audience. And what I will say too is if you know anybody who would be great for a show, we'd love to hear from them and we'd love to talk to them. So if it's not right
What
for
if
you,
it's you?
well, and that's the other thing is we're going to start coming up with training courses, because what was a mystery to us isn't a mystery out there. It's just figuring out what it is. Once you know what it is, the good thing is it continues to work the same way. As much as LinkedIn
Well,
changes.
yeah.
Right?
And I just think to exemplify a couple of points that you made, but one in particular, which I think is about connecting, being a master connector. Um, when you do collaborate with other people, and that doesn't mean you have to be doing business with them. That just means you're sharing experiences like, hey, I'm working on this, and this is so happens to be what's working for me. And somebody else in the collaboration group will say, oh my gosh, well, I just tried this and this worked. And I mean, it helps you grow, one, and two, the connections that you get because anybody that I have close relationship with, which is generally everyone that I've done any kind of live streaming or true connection with from live streaming, when they send connection requests like, "Hey, Kelly, you need to know this person, just needed you guys needed to connect and jump on a call." I know right away it's a worthy connection because I have deep connection with these people. It's not just them trying to do some kind of, service, but it pre-vets people, which one saves a whole bunch of time, and two, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do business with that connection. It just means, hey, you guys have a lot in common. There might be something there because you never know what one other people know who they're connected to, who you could do business with. Because this happens to me a lot. I'll meet with someone and they'll be telling me what they're working on, what their goals are, or that they're looking for certain things, and I will be ding, ding, ding. Hey, I know some folks I need to connect you with, and I'll do that. Which that's gold.
Mhm.
When you have people that you trust that are doing connections, it pre-vets, it speeds up things. That alone is worth, in my opinion, worth the time of doing collaborations or really being like, "Hey, I wanna work with a group of people to help me out because 'cause I'm trying to grow my business or start a business or expand my business," whatever it is, or launch a new product, launch a book. Because Khan will be a perfect example for that, right? If I'm getting ready to launch a book, Khan will be the one I'd be like, "I wanna get together with you and talk about it. How did this work for you? What did you see worked and didn't work?" Because I think that's always important, and people forget this part a lot. I always debrief after an event, whatever it is, because things go right and things could go better, right? There's always positives and negatives. And I know people don't like to hear that, but we learn from the negatives. Ooh, you know what? That graphic didn't look so great on the screen as we thought it did. I think we need to revisit that. Or the audience didn't respond and participate the way we thought. We need to reach out and do a survey. I mean, there's so many things that come from debriefs from certain things. And again, collaboration and getting people who you trust for their input. Hey, what were your thoughts? I don't want people surrounding me that are gonna tell me, "Oh my god, you were amazing," all the time, because that's not true. You need people to be able to say like, your presentation was really great, the content, but you could tell you were very nervous or you were very stiff and you felt a little bit unapproachable. Like, let's work on that." Those are things you wanna hear. I mean, granted, we don't really like a lot of times to get, constructive criticism, But that was a roundabout way of how important that the community and having a tight knit group of people that you can trust and relate to that will give you those connections that are totally pre vetted and again speed up a process, and it is reciprocity because once other people see that you're willing to do that and oh my gosh you actually do that they'll be willing to do it with you. And if they don't, who cares? You shouldn't be doing for the sake of gaining any kind of an agenda anyways. You should be doing it because you want to do it, to help others. Because I do believe when you give, you get back tenfold. But so there was my little side.
No, I think you continue to make these wonderful points. Is this comes with time and experience, and you can either invest your time and experience or leverage off of ours.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd rather get a roadmap before just someone says, figure it out on your own. The other thing that really comes to mind is today I'm having a call with Elle Banks, and she was here last Tuesday with Beverly Glazer at a show. And now she might want to talk about next steps tomorrow. And Elle Banks, by the way, came from Kathleen Quinn, KGV, who recommended that she talk to me if she's interested in live streaming. And that's where that came from. Tomorrow's show with Beverly, Women's Empowerment Over 50, is her friend that she recommended, Kathy Treccioni. I know I probably didn't do well there. But she has like 20 years in live streaming, has her own shows, and her and Beverly are tight. So, everybody, I always mention is like a picnic. If you're getting value, find value to respond with, but make it win-win-win value that the person you're introducing will get value, the person you're introducing to will get value, and you'll get appreciated because after a while people say, well, how can they when do they invest? And if you don't want to invest time or resources, then what is the reason to have you around the table, to be perfectly honest? And I've also found when people invest, they take it seriously, whatever it is. If it's like, okay, I'll refer a few people. Okay, I'll support you. And it's because I want to, but because you're supporting me. Right. Mm-hmm. And again, that goes back to that two-step process, as no one should have to take two steps and no one will take two steps. So, I think there is a price for everything, but if there's enough benefit and you're paying the price every day, you're going through 24 hours. If it's not this, it's that, right? You're not saving time. And, to Kelly's earlier point, that company was waited 18 months. They could have failed for the last 16 and been ahead of the course and never doing it, because once you launch, all the stuff starts showing up, right? And then you're busy.
You'll never plan for those things ever. I don't care how perfect you think it is. Something will still go sideways.
Well, yeah, and that's the learning part. And it's also the question of, are you up to responding to things you didn't expect? How do you deal with things that don't work well? Because, if it's easy for everyone. The ones who can overcome obstacles, who could go through trials and tribulations along the way, will definitely be the ones who come out the other end better for it. And maybe there's a couple races you got to run. So anyways, we're almost at top of the hour. Oh, we have a new person I haven't seen, Leanne Stock.
Hey.
Gosh, I've got to go. Great show, you guys. Well, thank you for sharing it. I would have never known you were here. And invite you back to my show here, Kelly's show tomorrow, Harvey's show, Carl's show, Khan's show this week. There's a lot of shows, and it's so great to see everybody's name up in lights, everybody doing better, feeling better about what they're doing, and having a vision of what could be. And, once you get that low-hanging fruit, that early win, it just drives you even further. So great to see you, Leanne. Dennis says, don't be afraid of mistakes, but learn from them. Mistakes are are tools to learn from. It's not what happened, because you're just going to get frustrated all the time. It's going to waste a lot of energy, and you're not going to be that appealing to people, right? and nobody wants a complainer. Nobody wants to hear how it's going to be only worse going forward. You know, I always mention people like elevator buttons. You want to be the one who keeps taking people up, not down. So with that, Kelly, love to hear your final closing words.
Yeah, so this hour flew by, just like we're saying the year is flying by way too fast. So yeah, I mean, go out and try something new and reach out to your contacts. I mean, there's nothing to be afraid from. And I agree. Like if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing the envelope hard enough. Because that's what life is about. Just don't make the same one over and over and over again, because that's a total nother issue for another show.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I can't believe an hour went by. You
I know.
know, it just like time just is not our friend either because it's March or because it's only an hour. But you know what it does say? If everything's going so fast, everything that you want is going to come quicker than you thought. So with that said, hope everybody comes by tomorrow to see Beverly and Kathy. And then Wednesday we got Carl with his wonderful show. And then Thursday back with Kelly. And then Friday we've got Con and Todd. So wonderful week. Thank you all so much. You make Mondays the thing I can't wait for, to be honest with you. So
Love
with
it.
that said, see you all tomorrow if possible.